Yeah, let's get started. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Ranga, our chief guest of the day. Let's get started with a silent prayer. Thank you. I would like to call upon the President of PMA, Mr. Vinod Manjula, for the welcome address uh, and the presidential address, and also introducing the chief guest.
Am I...
Your voice came broken.
How is it now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Engineer Francis. Chief guest of the day, Engineer Arjun Ranga, past presidents and members of TMA, YLT members, student chapter members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first webinar of the year 2022. The year gone by, 2021, was quite rewarding for TMA because in spite of the pandemic, we could do a lot of projects and touch the society at large. And here I would like to thank all the committee heads who took up the projects and worked towards this goal. We have a lot of programs lined up this year. On 20th, we are going to have a program by S.R. Nair, a member of TAI, on how to write effective business plan. This is for the student chapter members. On 25th, we are going to have a webinar by Mr. Bhanu Kumar from Madras Management Association on how to expand business and take your business on digital platform. This is for the MSMEs, and this is in association with the District Industry Center. And on Feb Fest, we are going to have the All India Management President, Mr. C.K. Ranganath, who will be addressing us, and the other LMAs in Kerala. Friends, prayer is an integral part of every Indian, and more so after the pandemic. And no prayer is complete without cycle Agarbathi. I have today my friend Arjun, who will be speaking to us on his journey, the journey of cycle Agarbathi. Very few organizations survive the third generation, and this group is one of them. This firm started by his grandfather, Mr. N.Ranga Rao. He went through a lot of hardships, and the second and third generation is taking it all the way forward. They are present across 15 lakh outlets in India. They export to more than 75 countries. And they've also got a PE funding from Motilal Oswal. Mr. Arjun is the CEO of the company. He did his engineering from Mysore and then went on to do his MBA from Thunderbird University. He worked there for some time before joining his family business. So without wasting much time, I will hand it over to Arjun, who will explain his journey. Over to you, Mr. Arjun.
Thank you so much, Vinod. It's always a pleasure talking to you and interacting with you and respective dignitaries that are present here, friends. Predominantly, Vinod, who's the gathering, if I can just get an idea? So
Yes. So we have our members, Student Management Association members. Then we have our student chapter members. We have around 1,000 students. And then we have YLT members, young leaders of the show. This is a group between 30 and 40 years.
Perfect. So what I've done is I've prepared a brief presentation. It's about 10-15 minutes. And after that, I'll open it out for interactions. I see that there are some people from our company as well that have joined. So I'll just request them to put in their questions in the end. So we first address your team's questions. Right.
Great.
Thank you. So who is managing the
now? Yeah.
Who's managing it? Who's the host?
Yes. Shobi, can you just make him the host?
Yeah.
Already done, sir.
Okay. Over to yours.
Perfect. Is it clear?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
So what I'm going to talk about is enduring legacy and what are the essentials of a family business and what our journey has been very briefly over the last 75 years. Okay. So this is our grandfather, Sri N.Ranga Rao. He passed away in 1980, and soon after 1987, my grandmother as well passed away. We fondly used to call him Factory Appa and my grandmother as Factory Amma because they literally were living in the factory. I was fortunate enough, I almost had the luck of spending close to 7 years with my grandfather, and amazing memories of him. I learned a lot in that brief period that I had with him as well. And of course, my grandmother was a pillar for the entire family. The early years, I want to talk about my grandfather briefly. We come from a very humble background. His early years were really tough. He's from a village in Madurai district called Vatraipu. If you look at the family legacy, it's either a Purohit or a teacher in our family. A very conservative family. And in 1920, he lost his father. He was just an 8-year-old boy then. And right through life, it was a struggle for him. You know, he had to take care of his mother and his grandmother. In school, he had to actually buy products from the wholesale market, come and sell it in the shop outside to, you know, earn a living to pay for his school. Throughout, whenever he wanted to upskill himself, it was a struggle. He wanted to learn typing and shorthand to get multi-skilled. He couldn't afford it. So he struck a deal with the typing institute and said that I'll bring 6 students, you teach me free. And so he learned typing and shorthand. He realized very early that, you know, nothing is going to come easy. And to succeed, you need to have fierce self-belief and you need to sacrifice a lot. So the first thing he did, you know, married man, imagine in pre-independence era, 36-year-old already has a grown-up daughter. He quit the village, ancestral village, moved to Arvanga to the cordite factory in Nilgiris, where he got his first job. So the first thing he realized was to, you know, that he has to take risk in life. Then he had the courage to dream and dream big. So from the Arvanga cordite factory, he got a better job in Consolidated Coffee Works in Cook. So he moved there and he became a bookkeeper there. My father was actually born in Cook. And by this time, he already had 4 children, as was the case in those days. And 1947-48, the moment India got independence, he realized that it was time for him to also start something on his own. But he was always very passionate about, you know, building something and creating something of value. So he left his job, which was a comfortable job. Now that the British left, he was going to become the next manager of the entire estate. But he said, no, I want to do something on my own. He had a life savings of about 100 rupees, took everything, took a rented house for 5 rupees, and that's where the factory was and the residence was, took the risk and said, okay, next 1 year, I'm going to give it everything. And made the big sacrifice. 4 children, aged mother, aged grandmother, moved to Mysore and started our Agarbathi business. Fiercely independent, determined to succeed. He never gave up. And he always looked at, you know, what is the best I can become? And he started initially with tooth powder, shikakai, and Agarbathi, because Mysore was a belt known for sandalwood and Agarbathi. And as he was a spiritual man, he only focused on Agarbathi very quickly and realized that, you know, Agarbathi, you can have a core competence. And the core competence he realized was fragrance creation. And so he said, I will become a perfumer. And in 1952, just 4 years after starting the business, he got the gold medal in the Mysore Dasara exhibition for fragrance creation. So that was the level of determination that he had. And if you look at his early years, right, financial discipline became a key differentiator. We have his books of accounts. In 1954 books of accounts, if I see, the tea expense that he has in the office, he's actually booked it as personal expense. He pays for it from his pocket. Now that's the level of ethical business practice that he brought about. And for me, if I have to say, right, after my MBA, after I came back and joined the business in 2000, one of the biggest reasons why we could scale so rapidly, bring in new technology, because we were so ethical and compliant. It was so easy for me to start scaling because I never had to actually sit behind the cash register, and we had business processes that I could build on. And this actually started from as early as 1954 from my grandfather's vision. Now, as always in the early ages, the key challenges that he faced was to build systems and processes, develop a core competence of fragrance creation that was not there, understand branding. In 1950, when he goes to the market, people were asking him for the product by the color of the packet. He had a blue packet, so people would say, Ranga Rao, give me your blue packet. He said, this is not going to sustain. I need something that people will remember and is timeless and is agnostic of language. And 1950, that's when the genius, the mind that he created the word cycle, because he said a cycle is called a cycle anywhere in India, any language, be it Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, Hindi, Urdu. People look at a cycle, they recognize it as a cycle and nothing else. And so he said, cycle Agarbathi as affordable as cycle. That's the first tagline that he had in 1950. That's how we launched the product. And over the years, a lot of spiritual values of what a cycle stands, or how the cycle of life continues with Agarbathi, when you're happy, when you're sad, how you pray with Agarbathi, how cycle unifies the world. Now, no matter who you are, you could be the richest or the poorest, a cycle is powered by your own will, just like how God and prayer is. And a cycle is a cycle for anybody, for that matter, no matter who you are. And so is God, and so is prayer, and so is Agarbathi. So if you look at, the biggest of the biggest companies on the Ayuth Puja day, it starts with 2 Agarbathis that cost 1 rupee. If not, the entire company doesn't start. And if you look at a mother at a household, she starts her prayer with 2 Agarbathis for the well-being of her children. So the product, just like the symbol of a cycle, is universal and unifies the nation. And that's the thought on which the brand was built. It personified hope. And so all the ethical values and the emotional connect was built on top of that over the years. The key challenges that my grandfather faced in those days was about security for the family members, about how, by 1960, he had 7 children by then, male children, 2 daughters. The daughters got married. And his biggest concern was security for the family members, and how does he nurture the second generation. So if you look at the evolution of the NR group, 1948 was the early years. Till about 1957, grandfather did everything on his own with the help of his eldest daughter, Padma Atte, who we fondly call. 1957, our chairman, Mr. R. Guru, after finishing his high school, was forced to join the business. Of course, after all of that, he's on his own. He's probably more qualified than a PhD right now with the knowledge that he has. But he is the one who made the biggest sacrifices and joined the business the earliest. Was support to my grandfather. He's the one who brought in a lot of financial discipline as men. My father did his engineering and his MBA, and my uncles then joined the business and they started to grow. By 1975, the businesses started to expand, and the family started to look at opportunities beyond Agarbathi. They diversified into food products, into pharmaceuticals, into restaurant chains, into floral and herbal extracts, and later into electronics and avionics and defense as well. And by around 2000, the third generation, that's me and my cousin, started to join in one by one. I joined the business in 2000, Pawan immediately after in 2001, and then Kiran in 2002. All of us did our undergrad and then our masters in the US, worked, and then came and joined the family business, started to manage different divisions or different companies within the group, and started to expand after that. So, what I wanted to talk about a little bit is about family legacy. Okay. What I've realized is that our business right now is in a transition. We are growing rapidly. We have new people joining us every other day, and there are equal number of people exiting the company as well. And one of our core values is, family business values with professional management. And so we were always struggling with how do we actually communicate what the family stands for and what the business stands for, and what is the legacy that we want all our employees to believe in that actually transmit on to the customers that we have, right? So the core purpose of the business, the family values, the meaningful achievements that we've had across generations, we had to communicate, and we had to communicate this legacy. It is, kind of both the tangible and the intangible assets that we've accumulated, our worth, the impact that we do, the emotional value that we have. So we created something called the NR Parivar. It was an idea, but we believe it unified everybody and the whole organization as one, including the stakeholders. And we started to communicate everything through that whole concept of a parivar, of a family. Right? And for us, the legacy was just not about looking back at what we've achieved, but also looking forward to see what can become. And most of our employees today are with us for years, and we encourage them to upskill themselves. We support them with any further education that they want to do, support them with encouraging their families to pursue. So we have a program called Unnati as well, where we fund all our shop floor workers' children's education, right? And the same thing extends to our customers and the relationships that we have and the entrepreneurial journeys that we undertake. The core values that define us and define who we are is, commitment to relationship with all the stakeholders. And the key word here is relationship. It's a very powerful word. So we value relationships. In exports, we are almost in 75 countries, right? But we have customers who've been with us for 40 years, 30 years. We are never looking at short term, never with what orders are you going to place. It's always about what can we do together over the next 10 years or 15 years. And that's how relationships are built. And that's the case with all our stakeholders and our distributors as well. We have distributors who've been with us from my father and my grandfather's time as well. Always offer differentiated products and services through innovation. So we always keep doing clutter breaking things in our communication, gathering insights from the market, creating products that nobody else has done and is unparalleled. Family business values with professional management, ethical and collaborative growth. Here, the key word is collaborative growth. Grow, but grow together and take the society that you're part of with you. Very important for us. Transparency in all our operations and conduct. Complete transparency. For me, it's been one of the biggest assets of this group. Complete transparency, openness, and honesty, which is what we did even during COVID. I openly told the entire management team the challenges that the company was going to face. Each and every one of them stood up and said, "Sir, we are here. We are as much part of the company as the company is part of us. We will do what we need to do to take care of each other." And that was just amazing. The last 2 years has been a testament for me of what the group and everybody in the NR Parivar stands for. Socially responsible and sustainable, which is kind of the order of the day, but it was part of our core values from 70 years. I was just talking to you about the ethical business practices, that my grandfather was talking about. This is one of that. If you see his coffee expense and tea, this is drawing account is his tea expense that he has on the right side. This is his books from 1951. This is the level of integrity that the man had. This is, transparency. Even before it was mandated by the Packaging Commodities Act, we were the first ones in the industry who kept the customer in focus and said, we will communicate MRP and the net contents on the pack. Agarbathi, because it was a cottage industry, did not require that. But we did that on our own because we wanted the consumer to get the best value for money. Right? We got into an ERP system. We went on to Microsoft first and then on to SAP. So today, each and every one of our sales depots across the country are integrated on real-time basis. Our Salesforce, all 1,800 of them carry a mobile app called Sales Diary, where we can see real-time the secondary sales. We're building more and more technology interfaces that helps us have total transparency across the organization and gives us end-to-end visibility for quick decision-making. We follow International Fragrance Research Association guidelines for each and every fragrance that we create. We use the best quality ingredients in our products, considering our customer safety and in mind. Sustainability has been in the heart of us. So all our packaging material is FSC certified from the Forest Stewardship Council. We are the first carbon neutral manufacturer. So when you actually go to the shop and buy a pack of Cycle Pure Agarbathi, you can be rest assured that there has been zero impact on Mother Earth while producing the product. Every emission that happens during the manufacturing process and our employees travel, commuting to work, we completely offset the entire footprint that we create in producing each and every pack of our Agarbathi. And of course, we are on the path of being completely plastic neutral as well. By 2025, we are offsetting our entire plastic footprint even before law regulates us to do that. Ethical and collaborative growth, like I said, we are completely OSHA certified because our employees are a heart of the organization. So occupational health and safety is key for us. And of course, all the ISO mandates for business process and process excellence and quality, all the Kaizens and quality circles we follow, of course. Social responsibility, when I talk about, we run a school for visually impaired girl children. It's been in the family for almost 30 years now, fully residential school for blind girl children, completely funded by the group. close to 450 girl students have passed out of the school. We run the Unnati project, which is scholarship program for our employees. Prerapana is a rehabilitation center for dropout children. We kind of get them back into school in about 10 slums in and around Mysore. And we do a huge amount of impact wherever we have engagement with business in our supply chain. An example is this area called Gachiroli in Maharashtra, which is a very tribal area with huge issue with Naxalites. We've gone there, helped the tribal women there, given them employment. Today, there are almost 1,500 women there who are employed for supporting us, making agarbatis and also cotton wicks from that area. So there's a huge amount of social impact that we can do with our supply chain integration. And it's amazing the indirect impact from the businesses that we support close to 30,000 families, through our supply chain. Our team is doing an amazing job managing them. For me, in every presentation I show this. This is the United Nations Sustainability Goals, and each of us as a business need to look at what we are doing and in which region we are able to impact. All the countries in the world have gotten together and said, these are the main goals that we take for the globe as one to achieve by 2030. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industrial innovation and infrastructure, no inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnership for goals. I strongly believe in these goals, and I try to instill this in each and every act that we do within our organization as well. Right? Ultimately, this is the NR group. This is where we are today. We are a business conglomerate. We are into the third generation now. We are 5 of us in the third generation. N.Ranga Rao & Sons is the parent company. It has a host of brands under it, which is Cycle Pure Agarbathis, Leah Air Fresheners, Iris Home Fragrances. We have Stoppo as a bathroom freshener brand. We have Woods, Yagna, we have Om Shanti as a spiritual products brand. Apart from the Agarbathi, spiritual and air care division, we are also into herbal and floral extracts. We do floral extracts that go into perfumes and fine fragrances. And in Rangson's Technologies and Rangson's Avionics, we do avionics hoses and pipes that go into Boeing jet engines and all of that. In Vayada Solar, we do agri-tech, we do solar pumps. Sensoft is an IoT sensing device company. Of course, NR Foundation is for non-for-profit division that we do. So ultimately, the sole purpose of why we exist is to do the right thing every single time. And we've been doing it since 1948, generation to generation. Right? Thank you all. I think this ends my talk for a quick 10 minutes. We can now have an interactive session and understand our journey in more depth.
Thank you, Arjun. It was so nice to see how the value system is passed on from the founder to the third generation, how you believe in relationship, building relationship and collaborative growth. I believe that you've also got a certificate like Great Place to Work. I mean, your organization is...
Yeah, we just got certified a Great Place to Work as well. It's an external agency that did an audit and told us, I guess, what we already knew, that we were a great place to work. But it meant a lot because it was anonymous, research done within our organization. We didn't know who was going to get what questionnaire, and it was fulfilling.
Great. Now the floor is open. You can unmute and ask your questions. Shantakumar, I think you are on mute, Dr. Shantakumar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very excellent talk. My name is Shantakumar. I want to ask you 2 questions. The first question is, normally you see in this family business, after 3rd or 4th generation, the later generation lose the passion which the promoters had envisioned. So you are now the 3rd generation. How do you carry that zeal with which the vision the original promoters had in mind, and how do you carry it forward? Because it is very rare to find it in an Indian context, at least.
Yeah, there are multiple questions and multiple answers within the question. The first point is business sustenance and perpetuity. I think it is a responsibility of each and every business owner to ensure that his business perpetuates, agnostic of the family. Right? I think that's something that our family did by getting in professional management. We have solid professionals through and through the businesses that would have managed to continue the business legacy, whether we as the third generation joined the business or not. And that's something that my father and uncles did amazingly well. So I think most families need to understand the role of the family, the role of the business, and your role as a shareholder. You have to wear all the three hats. A second part is the responsibility lies with the earlier generation in instilling the confidence and showing them the opportunity to come and join the business. For me, my father did that amazingly well. I don't know if I will be able to do as good a job with my son, but I'm trying to do my best with that. Now, when I was in 8th standard, I remember when we launched a new product called Heritage, I went and, ironically, it was in Cochin when we did the product launch, and that was my first outstation visit with my father in van sales. We went in a van for 3 days and did sales in Kerala market. Okay. And I'd learned amazing things by him. I was so excited about the trade. Every summer I would go with him to the office and learn perfumery from him. And he showed me the path. He told me, along with my uncles, of what opportunities lay ahead of us if we decide to come and work for the family and work for the business. So I think it is the responsibility of the earlier generation to actually instill the confidence in the next generation and show them the opportunity of working in the family business. Because, in today's world, my son has to choose between working for Google, Facebook, or Cycle Agarbathi. Right? And that's the opportunity that's in front of him. And it is my responsibility to show him the opportunity that exists, right? And give him all the tools that are available to skill himself to take care of this amazing enterprise of 4,000 people and 30,000 families. So to upskill him, give him the technical capability to come and serve so many people, and build an amazing business process and infrastructure that can actually run, and take him along as well. So I think it's multiple things, but I think the important point is, how do you actually pass on what my grandfather did? I told you stories about the tea expense. That's folklore. You actually do that by telling stories. That's the only way. Right. And my father has told me these stories, and I'm telling these stories to my son as well, and to all our employees. And storytelling is the only way where you can actually pass on the legacy and the values that define the business.
Yeah, thank you. It's very nice. My second question is the new trend is like, say in your business, ITC has entered into your business. So right from starting from Hotmail to Flipkart, you will see the new generation entrepreneurs after some time, they sell the business for a good buck and get off. So what is your view on it?
Now, as long as you continue to create value and keep the customer in the center and focus on the customer, any kind of model, I think, is fine. If your business doesn't have value, nobody is going to give you a buck. If it's actually not going to be differentiated, it won't give you a buck. To believe that your legacy will not, follow on, like see what has happened to Hotmail. Microsoft has bought it and it's now integrated with Microsoft Teams and everything else. And the path is different. Flipkart is now part of Walmart and don't know where it is going to go with that. So there's no right or wrong answer. I think the legacy actually is determined in the value that you create and how quickly you can create it and how customers perceive you. For me, I think customer is king. He is in the center. As long as you continue to deliver value to him, what happens to the valuation of your business or who the business owner is kind of becomes agnostic. And I think that's the world we're living in today. Like you rightly said, people are becoming less emotional of what they're connected to. But for me, in the family business, this is my life. My grandfather used to say, you cut his hand, you won't get blood, you'll get Agarbathi fragrance. So that's kind of what we're all born into. But each generation is different, and we need to learn to adapt and understand and
excellent.
Get on with it, I guess.
Yeah, very good. Excellent answer. Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you, Shantakumar. Anybody else? Arjun, can you briefly touch upon how technology played a role in expanding your business? I mean, you did mention about SAP and Sales Diary and other technologies.
Yeah. So that's kind of more recent. Family always believed that technology can actually accelerate growth. As early as 1970, they started to look at opportunities of quality control. We were one of the first ones to get a GLC machine to do raw material testing in those days, hire a MSc chemistry. People would ask, Agarbathi company, why are you looking at GLC machine and all of that? So it's just not about enabling technology on the front end, but even in your supply chain, in your product procurement, in your sourcing. So the organization was always looking at ways that we can actually deliver more value to the end consumer. And it started with technology. As early as 1986, I think when Wipro launched their DX2 computer, we were one of the first ones in Karnataka to buy the computer for our sales analytics. This was as early as 1985. Because grandfather believed that our ability to get the product to the customer the fastest will determine our success in the marketplace. And speed would come with decision making, and decision making will happen quickly with technology. And that's been the mantra from day one. Fast forward a few years, 2002, 2003, I came back and joined the business, and then we had Tally installed, and Tally was amazing for us. And we started to have multiple locations manufacturing. When I joined, we were about 200, 300 people overall, and about 100 people in the ops side. And today we are about 4,000. So when we started to scale and started to have multi-location manufacturing, we could not integrate it with Tally, and Tally ERP was not there. And that's when we went with Microsoft as our ERP provider. And it gave us immediate visibility across the supply chain. We started to get data real time. Decision-making started to happen a lot quicker, right? And that's when our journey of digital transformation actually started. And then that's when I realized the difference, between physical and digital, right? And just to give you all a little bit of gyan, the three phases are, whatever you're doing right now in hard copy, you need to first digitize that. So that is the digitization process. And we are more or less today 90% digitized. We're trying to, digitize 100%, but there are still quite a few things that are still manual. So about 90% digitized. And after digitization comes digitalization, where you actually start take decisions digitally real time. Today, our entire purchase order process on SAP is digital. There are no physical copies. All our vendors get their POs virtually, and the entire approval process has a matrix, and it happens. So each and every business process, we then try to automate and use digitization and then digitalization to take decisions quicker. The next process is the digital transformation, where you can actually take actionable decisions, where your data gets converted into information, into knowledge very quickly and in real time, where you can actually start having AI and analytics and machine learning to help you take decisions quicker. We have not yet got there. I think we are about 3 years from there. We have very small engines that we have now implemented using Power BI in a few places for sales analytics, but we are still a long way off before we actually do the digital transformation journey, where we start using AI to take decisions. We are still in the digitalization process, where we are using data real time, but manually taking decisions on what actions to take. So that's been the overall journey for us so far. At each phase, there has been a hardware and a software interface. Coming from a very conservative family, I was never looking at SaaS as an opportunity, a subscriber model. I always wanted everything client-based. So today, I have a huge data center sitting in my office. I have 6 people managing my entire data center. On hindsight, I think I should have just gone to cloud from day one, right? But it's all, I think, a matter of learning and evolution. And I think technology is here to stay, and we better embrace technology as fast as possible. If not, we will be left behind. And at the speed at which India is going, it is on the cutting edge of digitization now, with the way the government has brought in digitization. Once 5G comes in, which is just, I think, a year away, data will be so quickly available at people's fingertips. Information exchange will be so rapid with blockchain, and there will be so many micro instances that are happening that will accelerate growth. It is fundamental to the way business will happen, I think, in the next 10 years, and India will be in the cusp of that change for sure.
Hi, this is Francis. I have a question. You spoke about the technology, adoption of technology, right? Now, with the adoption of technology, a challenge that comes about is resistance to change, right? Especially with older employees and suppliers and whatnot, distributors, whatever. So how do you manage to overcome that and make it a smooth transition?
I've been blessed in that regard. For me, each and every employee is so committed to the organization. They were always open to change. Our production head joined the company when he was in 10th standard. Okay, his name is Mr. Prasad. Today, he does the budgeting and transfer notices on SAP. He's learned it on his own, right? He's among the senior most employees in the company. Entire production and packaging branch operations he handled. So I think it's to the leader, and I strongly believe in there is this book called Leading Change by Philip Kotler, not Kotler, Kotler, okay? You got to read it. It gives you 7 steps to follow to bring about change. I don't remember the 7 steps, but I diligently follow the method. It's about creating a guiding coalition, creating a sense of urgency within the organization, showing small wins, and then collating it with the group, and then bringing in a culture of change overall. So I think these are kind of the steps, and it really works amazingly well. And the lesson that I learned is, if you actually involve people that are going to actually be operating the system later in the decision-making process, the propensity to change is that much more. If you take the decision and then expect them to follow, it would never happen. So I always believe in calling everybody, getting them involved from day one in the decision-making process, and then they are amenable to change. But you will have issues here and there. There was a period, I remember, when we launched Navision, like you rightly said, every location had a ERP operator also, all right? So there was the decision maker and there was an operator sitting next to him. And it was just for the initial 6 months, and then they moved into the back office, and the actual decision maker was on the system learning, and we brought in a training system to ensure that they adapted to the change. But it is a challenge for sure.
Right, but involving stakeholders upfront is key.
And there is a process to it. So you can actually, I believe in, as an engineer, I believe in building a process for everything, and you can process the change. You can build a process for it as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Engineer Arjun Ranga, for your highly motivational speech. The story of or the journey of Cycle Agarbathi is very highly motivational. Now, in the speech, you mentioned that the family has a host of business. Is this Cycle Agarbathi has the major share?
Yeah, the parent company that my grandfather started, which is called N.Ranga Rao and Sons, Cycle is a brand within that group. And yes, it is the biggest part of the business as well. We had another business that was equally big called Rangsons Electronics, where we're doing contract manufacturing and EMS. We were one of the biggest producers of GE Medical's ultrasound imaging systems. We were in telecom. We were doing switches and routers and all of that. But we sold that business to a company out of Hyderabad called Scient, and we got into product design and development. So we are right now building heat exchangers for the Indian defense. We got into product builds and and working in avionics now. So it is a smaller business, but as a startup.
Thank you.
Sir, it was a beautiful presentation. And you said there are more than 4,000 employees in your organization. I want to know what is their average salary. On an average, how much these employees are getting per month? Sir?
I've never actually calculated the average of all the 4,000, but we are above average in terms of the remuneration that we give in the industry. So.
And second question, is it a listed company, sir?
No, it's not. Sir. Not a listed. It's a privately held family business.
I see. And we people from Thrissur are very much interested in getting the shares of this kind of companies. So give us an opportunity by listing your shares.
No, I mean, the long journey, sir. It's not in the space right now.
You can be part of it by buying Cycle Agarbathi, sir.
Yeah, you start buying our products and using them, and that will actually help us propel it towards that journey. Thank you, Vinod. That's a good one.
George, you would like to ask? Yeah, you can unmute and ask. Yes.
Arjun?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you for a very inspiring speech, Arjun. I just want to check with you, because listening to you is like a great organization, how they are balancing profit and purpose together. and how difficult it is to carry on with the profit and purpose. Without profit, you can't even meet your purpose. And without purpose, yes, you can sustain, but how do you manage these two? That is my first question. Second question is that how do you ensure that this will happen in future?
It's for us, for me, there is no other way of conducting myself or the business. So purpose comes first always. Ethical business practices is paramount, and everything else comes secondary. And while building the business in itself, we strongly have customer as the center. And if you go to the market and look at our products, right, our 10 rupee pack, for example, will be, the number of sticks will be the same, but you'll see my competitor's pack will be double the size with the same number of sticks. Our pack will be, appropriate size. It won't be double the size. And that's been the way we've been from the beginning. What I'm trying to say is that we don't know any other way to exist, to be honest. Okay. We don't have to use FSC certified board. It's not a legal requirement. But each and every packet of cycle Agarbathi, when you buy it, the packaging material used has been from regrown forest. Not even one virgin forest was chopped to produce that pack. You can end-to-end trace each and every packet. We don't need to do that. Legally, we are not required till 2050, but we do that. We use only virgin 100% recyclable polymer in each and every one of our inner packaging, which is legally not required, but we do that anyway. It does come at a cost. And we believe over the long term, consumer will see the difference because, a mother is praying for her child's future. And what better way to secure the child's future if not we take care of planet Earth first? And it's our Agarbathi that's helping them do that, right? And that is very, very clear and ingrained in each and every person in the company. So there is, even in the face of Armageddon, they just don't compromise at all. There is no other way of doing business, to be honest, for us. I wouldn't even know, if you come and tell me you can cut short this way and that way, you can do this. We wouldn't even know how to do it, honestly. The ethos in the company in itself won't allow it.
Arjun, that leads my next question. How do you inject the DNA into the new employees when they're coming in?
It's only through folklore and leading by example. No matter how much I talk, they all will be observing and they need to see this demonstrated. You take this entire COVID scenario, right? This talking is one. What we did, how much time do we have, We're okay with time?
You have another 10 minutes.
All right. So when you take COVID, I came back to India in 2020. I was traveling. I transited to Dubai, and then I saw that people were wearing masks and things were getting a little tense. So end of Feb, I came in and I said, there will be something called a lockdown. I did some research. I found out what South Korea had done. I called the entire team in and I said, listen, this is going to be something called a pandemic where there will be things called lockdown and we'll all have to quarantine. They didn't even understand. But unbelievably, they supported me. I moved all the systems to people's houses. We did actually simulated tests of seeing how the business can operate from home. This is all pre-lockdown. All right. We went to the bank, secured credit. I said, we will be shut down for a few months. We need to have enough money to pay our employees first. That's the key. All right. Not just pay our employees, also pay the distributors whatever we owe them. The TOBS, the RDAs would end in March. We need to pay them as well. Put the process in place. And believe it or not, March 23rd happened. And the company was completely prepared. Right? And after that, we were the first to get COVID insurance for each and every employee. And all our 2,000 sales force, we gave them advanced impressed amount to keep for incidental expenses. All 2,000 of them got money ahead of time into their accounts to take care of their expenses in case of emergency. We put in a help desk. And, and this is something that is not just to say, but the organization stood, and it's just not me. One person can't do anything. Each and everybody. The sales officer took care of the SR, the ASM took care of his sales officer, it supported the distributor wherever they could. In corporate, people stood in line, helped each other, wherever they needed beds, they helped organize it. It was just amazing, the camaraderie and the togetherness that the Parivar showed. And I think that's an example of how values is transmitted. all the new employees who've been part of that journey in a year just kind of got entwined in the DNA and they understood what we stand for. It is just not to say, you need to demonstrate it, day in and day out in your conduct, in the way you take care of your customers, the way you support. So if you get a complaint from the market, my sales representative will come to your house, collect your sample and give you a replacement. We sell 14 billion Agarbathi sticks a year. That's 7 billion prayers we help fulfill. But for me, each and every prayer is important. And that belief is what the entire organization runs with. Right? And so it has to happen through storytelling and leading by example. There is no other way.
Thanks, Arjun. I think I can only wish the fragrance of cycle Agarbathis spread all over the world again and again.
I think, God's grace, we are in 75 countries and we still have another 75 to go. So
continue to fulfill.
Thank you so much. Blessing the
Nice
vendors.
listening, Arjun. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We just got a few more minutes to go.
Yeah.
Can you mention about something about the brand building part? You went about, you were one of the few South Indian brands to sponsor the cricket, and then how the digital space is taking over.
Yeah. My dad strongly believed in investing in the consumer, and he was one of the first ones. I remember 1988, I went with him to Bombay. Louis Banks was a very famous music director. He said, any brand needs a solid jingle. And he got a jingle recorded by Louis Banks in those days. Okay. And it stood the test of time. And I learned a lot of things from my father, to be honest. Believed in branding, believed in, communicating truth to the consumer at all points of time. So over the years, we've had different stories to tell, but something
Sorry, can you just mute others? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So something that stood the test of time was this tagline that we came up with in 2001. It was called "Everyone Has a Reason to Pray." Okay, and that was all encompassing. And we said, all right, what is an activity that unites the nation, right? During monsoons, the country gets united. During budget, everybody's talking only about the budget, And then it was cricket. And they said, yeah, cricket is an opportunity, but we can't afford it. So we dropped it. It was 2004. And that's when India-Pakistan happened. Pakistan was visiting India. And I get a call. Tomorrow morning is when the matches are starting. I get a call the previous day from 10 Sports, and they say, the main sponsor has backed out because he didn't get his approval from Singapore or whatever. We have to ask a family business who can take a decision on a phone call. So I said, yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll do it. And that's one of the great things. Dad gave me the capability to take these decisions, no matter what the cost was. Right? And it was fresh in my career. So I took the decision. I said, yeah, we'll be on cricket. We'll sponsor the Super Fours, sixes, and everything. And that was when Sehwag broke the record and hit all these fours all over the place. And the brand just got amazing visibility. Every four, you could see everyone has a reason to play. And that's when our journey with cricket started. And the lesson has been that whatever you do in branding, you have to be consistent. You can't do one thing today and do something else tomorrow. The customer needs to repeatedly keep seeing you doing something and keep identifying you with that. So we took the third umpire branding, out or not out, you get this line that comes, everyone has a reason to pray, because, both the batsman and the bowler are praying during the third umpire decision. And we kind of branded that, and it's been an amazing journey with cricket since then. And we've been consistent. It took us almost 5-6 years for people to start recognizing it. And today, when I sit for a job interview, when I'm interviewing a candidate, the first thing he says, I saw you in cricket. Okay. And for my field force, imagine he's watching cricket at home and he sees the brand and he tells his wife, that's the company I'm working for. And it's right next to Airtel and Hero. Right. So that's the pride that he gets. And it comes with what my grandfather said. 1954, one of our managers had to get married. Those days, his in-laws said, if you're working for an Agarbathi company, we are not going to accept you. The grandfather said, whoever works for this company, I want them to work with the head held high and proud that they work for this brand. And for us, cricket has helped us, kind of bridge that as well to a great extent, because it's a national sport, unifies the nation, and you're actually playing for India. Okay, but that's been the journey. Now, digital, I guess, it's anybody's guess. It's way more expensive than mass media. I'm still a believer in mass media, television, radio, and print to some extent. But digital, social listening, understanding different channels, the insights and feedback that you get from customers is amazing in digital. There's so much you can learn, so much feedback you can collect. Building an ecosystem that actually understands that, creates a tangible idea that can be converted into a product that can actually generate customer value is the next path of the journey that I'm now going to take up. Media spends on digital will start increasing, of course, but I think at least the next couple of years, mass media will still take bulk of the spends, but digital will actually piggyback on customer insights and understanding behavior, buying patterns, and all of that. Because e-commerce is here to stay. The last 2 years has made us see that transition. And consumers will start getting used to a different method of purchase as well. So need to be there on both sides, for sure.
Thank you, Arjun. So that was an amazing session. We can see how the value system started by your grandfather has been passed on from one generation to another, how the entire value system is ingrained in you. I'm sure Cycle Agarbathi will go places in the coming years. As a token of appreciation and love, we would like to give a small memo to you. These are coconut products made by self-help group. Yes, so this will be couriered to you. This is made by a woman self-help group. So,
thank you so much. Coincidentally, I forgot to mention our Kerala team is our model market for the rest of the country. This is an amazing set of guys. Bharat and Rajendra have been with us for so many years. Each and every one of them are doing so much. For me, Trichur Puram was one of my fondest memories, with my father visiting the Puram in those days. And even my son's first New Year celebration when he was born was actually in Cochin. So very fond memories, and thanks for this gift. Means a lot to me. It'll have a special place in my house for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you should visit Puram again.
I will.
So over to Francis for a formal word of thanks. Francis.
Thanks, Vinod. It's a pleasure to do the word of thanks for the function. Let me start with the President, Engineer Vinod Manjula, first of all, for presiding over the function, and also getting a great speaker like Mr. Ranga to the PMA audience. Next, I would like to thank the speaker of the day and chief guest of the day, Mr. Arjun Ranga. That was a wonderful narration of the success of his company as well as the brand. And it was really amazing, how the success continues despite being the third generation now, with the diversification and also at the same time, instilling the family values in the company through its growth, and also at the same time taking care of the society through socially responsible programs, and the employees being the best employer, and also taking care of the sustainability practices. I think it is an amazing journey that we all got to listen to. Thanks very much for that, and I'm also glad to know that Kerala is a model market. If ever you happen to come to Thrissur, may I request you to visit PMA and for more detailed interaction.
It'll be my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, that's good to know. Next, I would like to thank all the participants, all the past presidents of PMA, the managing committee members, office bearers, all the other members of PMA, and all the guests who joined today's program and and made it very interactive as well. Have a good night.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Please stay safe and healthy, and God bless us all. Thank you. Thank you, Vinod. Pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.